Hey, welcome everybody. It's Patrick, and we got a special guest, Gary, the arborist, is with us today. Hey, Gary, welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
I enjoy being with you guys.
Yeah, man, we get to talk about the coolest stuff, don't we?
Yep.
So I got a couple of housekeeping items. So we'll start with those. A thank you to Brandon, who I haven't called yet to thank for sending me this book. It came, a couple of our calls. I've been a little low lately, and I'm not low today. I'm really good. Somebody asked me how I am today, and I said I'm peaceful. And then we both sat and laughed because I'm never peaceful. So Brandon, this arrived like this is recognize and heal yourself through the power of spirit. And like, just as I'm like, wondering where God is and wondering what my relationship with God is, this got sent by somebody who's on this call. And yeah, I just want to say thank you publicly. And yeah, made a big difference. So I never read since my eyes started getting older. I just don't like reading. And I sat down and read 50 pages immediately. So that was pretty cool. And it kind of hits like why I'm peaceful today. So I want to talk about that for a minute. So I think I've shared at the beginning of these calls that I've been doing more to, Jen, are you jumping on the mutes as we go here? Because there's evidence that. Yeah, you muted everybody again. That's not the best technique. Do you know how to mute them one at a time? Now you're muted. Oh, this is great. The mute merry-go-round. I'm going to trust you.
Yeah, I'll be on top of it. I'm going to stop multitasking over here and be present.
That's good. One of the best things in the world about Jen is that she multitasks. And one of the worst things in the world about Jen is that she multitasks. So, I get both sides of that coin, and I just love her the best I can. We navigate through it. So I think I shared with you guys that, I knew I was in a rut, and I was like building myself back up, and building myself back up is like, I realized I just kept getting overwhelmed emotionally by anything. Like, even a muting conversation might have overwhelmed me 2 weeks ago. So I started really building back tools I've used over the last 10 years. And I was doing the emotion code every morning. And I changed my point of reference in the emotion code. Previously, I would evoke that I am one with the creator. And what I started doing is evoking I am presence. And evoking I am presence, I started to each day when I started the emotion code, observe what it means to be that, like, who I am is presence. Like, I'm consciousness observing life. And that seemed to bring nice peace. And then what I was saying after that was, and I'm guided by my heart. And when I went to do it today, like that didn't feel right. And so I said, I am presence. And then I just started to observe this space and this body and this being as that I'm the consciousness witnessing what's going on. And I started to look at this vessel that carries me that I like completely take for granted and treat poorly and get mad at and complain about. I just started to look at my hands and think about my consciousness and look at my legs that carry me. And I just got in a state of awe this morning that, like, the real, a new cut at separating myself as the observer from the body happened today. And that's a really peaceful place for me. And so inside of that, I called Hope Fitzgerald, and I talked to her about, I've been using this and I'm guided by my heart language, and it doesn't feel big enough. It doesn't feel infinite enough. And this is going to set up the theme of our call today. It ended up shifting today to, and I'm guided by infinite intelligence. And what I like about that is on a recent call with Hope, I talked about how the measures of like pursuing money or pursuing relationships or pursuing sex, like not fulfilling anymore. It's not like, if I get a victory in those areas, it's like an egoic victory. It's not a fulfilling victory. And what feels like a fulfilling victory is watching the stream of my emotion code and gratitude practice build, and seeing the coherence that's building back in my individual life, and then my connected life, connected to the wellness enterprise and connected to the people in my life. So this has all gotten me into a state of awareness of infinite intelligence. And that's just a phenomenal place to have a conversation with Gary, right? Because Gary, I'm going to remind you guys that we're here before, and then tell it newly for the people who've never heard this before. But Gary's the guy that left me a message that I didn't return the phone call for like 10 days. And then I went and cut a tree down, and it almost killed me. And then when I finally called him back, it was after the tree, and I called him and I was like, hey man, what's going on? And when Gary's got something on his mind on a phone call, he just jumps right in and starts talking. He goes, hey, there's a type of tree I got to talk to you about. And he started to describe exactly the tree that almost killed me the day before. And I was like, you knew that was coming in my life, didn't you? He's like, I don't know, but I knew that I had to talk to you and get that out there. So Gary's really tuned into this infinite intelligence, and spending the time in nature. Well, let's put it to him as a question instead of me talking about it. So Gary, why do you think, I'm going to ask you to unmute again. Why do you think you're tied into nature and infinite intelligence the way you are? How did you get that way?
I believe it started out as a very young age, going fishing all the time with my dad out in the ocean, and just being constantly in contact with nature, seeing how it works, understanding it. Then, as I became an arborist, the connection between the microorganisms in the soil health, the health of the tree, cellular communication, it just all was part of a giant picture. And it all drew me in, and anything I looked at, like Victor Schauberger with the vortexing of water and the log flumes, and how to use nature to assist you in everything. And Victor Schauberger said, comprehend nature, and copy it. And that's what I started to do. I just started to comprehend how nature worked, why it worked, and then copy it. And everything worked synergistically. It was just so much easier to accomplish tasks if you work with nature and its infinite intelligence instead of trying to fight it.
All right. So it's amazing. Like, I'm so connected today and peaceful. It's like the next question just keeps showing up. It's really fun to be with you guys after the last few weeks where it's just been harder on me. So continuing to go deeper down that theme, talk to us a little bit about your observations about structured water in plants. Like, you've told me some stories recently about goji berries and different types of citrus. And, tell us a little bit about what structured water looks like from your perspective.
Well, my current stories are using the aqua energizer on the goji bush and my tangerine trees. And I was having a problem getting my goji berries to mature because the birds kept eating them. So I brought one of my plants in the screen porch, and the berries turned red, but you got to let the stem get purple before they're mature. And my stems just weren't turning purple. And the berries were staying on the plant week by week by week, which is not normal. And it kept getting darker red. And then finally, after like a month and a half, the stems turned purple. And then I went to the tangerine tree, and probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I should have picked all the tangerines, but I couldn't eat them all. So I let them sit there, and the citrus is not maturing. It's not changing its internal structure. It's staying on the tree viable for a much longer period of time. So the structured water is giving back the plant its ability to make fruit and hold fruit like it did 50, 75 years ago, instead of what's happening to people and plants today with this poison water inside of us and how short our life is and how short the life of the produce is. So by having the structure, the intelligence inside the plant is saying, hey, I can hang out for a while. Everything is good. You know, it's like you are now at peace. Whereas before it was stressed out, had to quick make babies and let them procreate because the world was a terrible place. So by using the aqua energizer, I think it's made the environment much more habitable. You know, the habitat for the microorganisms and the plant itself a much more comfortable place to be. So everything is just working easier in a slower pace.
That's great. Hey guys, this conversation with Gary can be a community thing. So if you guys have questions about anything at all, you're welcome to ask Gary. But you know, in this moment, we're on the topic of structured water in the garden and in the plants and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and start to talk, or you can raise your hand. You can wave, and I'll find a spot for you to get in. It'd be my pleasure. So yeah, it's pretty cool the way you've been able to observe the effects that are going on there. And so, you know, I mentioned that I'm going to announce a 50%. Well, I don't know if I said a huge discount or a 50% discount, but they're one and the same. We're going to have a 50% discount on one type of structured water device. And it's the device, like what I've been thinking about is people growing produce that is vibrant and alive, and people living their lives connected to this infinite intelligence and how we get it through what we eat and through the water that we work with and through being in nature. And so this is the device that we are putting on sale for the month of March. You can see it's got the Aqua Energizer label on it, and you might recognize it. This was manufactured by Natural Action Technologies. It has naturalactionwater.com and Natural Action Technologies on here, and it says patent pending. And what happened was when we developed the Aqua Energizer name, it's called a private label. When you have somebody else manufacture a product and then you put your name on it. So this is their product with our name on it. And it's a slightly different product than the others that are in the market because it was made specifically for pivots in Texas. So the idea is you have just, millions of acres of land that have these 1/4 mile pivots that spin around and spread water from a well. And you put one of these devices every 300 feet on the pivot, and the whole crop gets structured water because of the way it spreads. So these came with a little threaded piece in them like this. It's 3/4 of an inch. And I've already removed the threaded piece today. But this device can be used for a garden or for a shower or for a sink or for an RV or really for anything you want. And, all you do to use it for a garden is go like that. Use a little tape, you make the connection stronger than I just did with my fingers. But we're going to be selling these for $199 with the garden connections on them. And if anybody wants to get them just with the 3/4 inch thread and no garden pieces like this, we'll sell it for $189. And then let's say you want to use it for a sink or a shower. What you do is you get a piece like this that has 3/4 inch threads on one side. And you put that into the device, and then you get a nipple like this, which is a 1/2 inch. And you put it in. And now this just went from being a garden device a moment ago to now this is the super shower that Natural Action used to sell. This is what that would look like. Obviously, it's not the same super shower, but it's the same 7.5 inch device with the same size fitting. And then if you want to make it into a sink, you just replicate what you did here over here. So, at $189 instead of $399, you can basically get these and use them to configure structured water anywhere you want. And, our hope is that you guys will use this in your yards and you put it on your sprinklers. Like, now that the price is half of what it was before, there will be an opportunity to spread this infinite energy. And, that takes us to the topic of Zach Bush and the farmer's footprint that he's worked on, and what he's doing in the environment. I know that a lot of you follow him, and I know some of you take his ion supplement product, which used to be called Restore, and then it was called Ion Biome, and now it's just called Ion. And the Ion stands for Intelligence of Nature. And so you'll be able to see here how the theme of the call about, oh, Shira is holding up a bottle of Ion for those that may not recognize it. There it is. So that's a 2-month supply. And the Wellness Enterprise has a stack of cases on the way to Texas right now. And we're going to begin offering that product. And I knew it felt right, and I knew we were going to be doing it, but I didn't understand why when the intuition was there to do it. And now that it's there, I'm interested in having a community conversation about this, and seeing what kind of insights we have as a group. I was talking to one of our community members late last night, and she was saying how structured water and ion feel to her like they carry the infinite. It's like hard for her to talk about them because of the amount of awe that she has for both products. And so I could start to see that that's why we're putting them together. I know there's an important part of hydration that is the structured water part, and now the minerals, the ion product is a mineral product, but it's a very sacred and well cultivated mineral product. So I'm seeking to understand how these fit together. And anything that anybody who uses both can share with us is completely welcome. Shira, I know you've been researching, yeah, she just raised her hand. I know you've been researching the ion product, and I'd love for you to share a little bit of what you're observing. Can't hear you yet, so don't hear you yet. Not yet. Good old Shira with her technology issues. Only for tweet calls. Shira. She's looking at the buttons, trying to figure it out. It looks like you have yourself unmuted, which makes it a little more complicated to get you going. Shira, you can just blurt out when you think you've got it, and we'll talk with you. So Gary, we've been talking about the ion a little bit, and you've been doing some research into Zach. What do you have to share on the topic?
I really feel that the blending of structured water and minerals is so key for everything, whether it's a plant, animal, human being. I think that the operation of intelligence is created by having these things together. Water alone only has so much ability, and water itself is like a mirror. It will reflect or carry information. So if the vitamins, the minerals, the ions have the information, and the water can transport it throughout your body, throughout the cells of the plant or into the ground, it's just a homeostasis. It's just how things were in the very beginning, before pollution and corruption got us where we are now. And I think it's a pathway back to homeostasis, to perfect health, to rejuvenating the soil, rejuvenating ourselves.
Yeah, I don't claim to be a scientist about Zach's product. Certainly Zach is an MD, and all of his credibility, he publishes a lot on that. And one of the things that I've picked up that I've seen said recently, Shara, try talking. I hear, no, okay. I just heard the background sound, thought maybe it was you. Is that the glyphosate interrupts and breaks and separates things, both in the plants and in the people. And that's why Zach developed the ion, is to knit people and plants back together. So, it's fascinating to me that not only can they get us to pull, like, you ever seen your neighbor like with a spray bottle or a bottle of Roundup in one hand and a sprayer in the other, and they're walking around putting all the chemicals on everything. My neighbor across the street told me that he got vertigo by spraying chemicals on his yard. And this guy's like 76 years old, and he spends about as much time caretaking his grass as I spend talking about structured water. He's pretty funny. And I was like, well, Tony, since you got vertigo from spraying chemicals in your backyard, have you stopped spraying chemicals in your backyard? And he said, no. I was like, why not? He's like, oh, it's a habit. I'm like, wow. Just unbelievable the way we spray these chemicals into our environment, and the way they're engineered to interrupt and break this infinite intelligence. It's fascinating. Yeah, Jen and Bill, see your hand up.
Yeah, hello, everybody. I was, so we've been taking the biome, we have it as biome, and our structured water, which is our whole home, which every time we have someone come, they say so many things about our soap. And Bill keeps saying, it's not the soap, it's the water, but just to go on a little bit about what you were saying. So I've been trying to study Zach in this ion. And what he had said, I was watching one of his videos, is that we are by far more different organisms than human being, as far as the ratio of different organisms. And that because of the chemicals, particularly what is it, glyphosate?
Glyphosate.
Yes, glyphosate, which has, it's just ruptured the pathways in the body. So the ion, what it's also doing, he said, is that it's almost like a stem cell. So by adding it back into the being can start to reproduce things as if from a cellular nature, but we're using the ion. So I was fascinated when he said it was a stem cell, like the stem cell, because we are by far more than what we've been taught in biology and anatomy, because we have God. I mean, there's the universe. There's so much more in there than what, oops.
It's okay, we can still hear you.
Okay, what we've been taught. And then the other thing, if I heard him properly, is where they get the mineral from is they are, I'm not going to say mining it, I don't remember the word, but they are coring down prehistoric time. And I'm pretty sure I've got this right because I was watching it, but maybe I have Lyme's disease. Is that it was pre-dinosaur. So they are literally they're giving us back organisms that have been extinct off of this planet due to manipulation. So which I think is good. And plus, we're not being restored back, we're being restored forward, I believe, because we are now so much more conscious, at least at this time, I think. I know than I've ever been in my life, but meaning like we understand that our whole world is shifting, which is also kind of what Zach is talking about with the fifth dimension or whatever dimension, you know. So with the, we are actually going to buy some of that when it comes through wellness enterprise. But the thing that I found fascinating is he said it acts like a stem cell. So our body can use it wherever it needs because there's infinite intelligence in our body.
Yeah.
And then we literally may no longer need vitamins because of the mineral content, which, you know, you and Gary were talking about, but we wouldn't particularly need vitamins because you guys have also talked, I think, you know, fasting, the sun, like literally. Can we just be getting our food from the sun and water?
Let's bring Gary in here with us. So Gary, you know, I heard her talking a little bit about what we are and what we need, and that definitely feels like your domain. So what are we, Gary?
Well, we're vibrations. We're mostly water. Water is the key for getting, storing, and communicating information. And I do believe that a large percentage of everything we need does come from the sun. I believe that we're a battery. I believe that fruits and vegetables are batteries. And the only way to recharge ourselves is to get a charge that is on the same level as what our body needs. So if you're eating a fruit that came from the ground, it took minerals from the ground, and you're getting the minerals out of it. So whether you get the minerals from the plant, from the ground, or from the water, and you add it with the energy of the sun, I believe that Jen is exactly right, that we have the ability, as the intelligence has shown us, that we really don't need all this packaged food. We don't need all this hoopla. We just need to take something out of the dirt, eat it, and be in the sun and look at the sun. And I think the intelligence is there, that this is all we really need, that all these other things are just indoctrinated foolishness, that we are vibrant energy, and we need the sun, we need the water, we need the minerals, and I think that's it. I don't think we need colors, dyes, preservatives. I think everything we need is well within reach. I think it's right there. We've just been indoctrinated into all these other things that infinite wisdom has told me to stay away from. That I shy away from all these things. I look more for looking at the sun. I look more for taking something off my good bush or the tangerine tree than going shopping at the store. There's, as you had said earlier, there's not a lot of fulfillment in those things for me anymore, because the infinite wisdom has said that these things are not needed. It's not part of what's real.
So do you think that the bacteria and parasites that we talked about previously, like the Lyme disease and other things, do you think that they're there from birth and that they just get activated or they get concentrated, or like where do they start wreaking havoc in a human?
Well, the videos I've watched with Dr. Alan McDonald said that people that have the spirochetes in their body long enough, they've actually been able to bond to the DNA or bond to the cell and then get passed on. So there is a genetic predisposition to us. But I think the majority of us take in emptying a cat litter box, eating uncooked meats, you know, and just bad hygiene. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, don't get affected by heat, don't get affected by cold, and where we're exposing ourselves to them. But that's only part of the problem. The other part of the problem is if you had all the vitamins, minerals, structured water from being in your mother's womb all the way out, you have an infinite knowledge of your body on how to get rid of these things or keep them away and never get them. I mean, I go outside and mosquitoes don't bite me, they bite everyone by me. But if I'm the only one outside, they have to settle on biting me. So nature itself knows who's sick and who's weak and who it wants to remove, just like the lion and tiger. They look for the weak, the infirm, the young, to cull the herd, to get the premium ones to stay alive, to continue the species. And I learned that in a horticulture class. Professor Al Will said, take 10 pepper plants, 10 tomato plants, and grow them in your yard. Put them in pots, bigger pots, put them in the ground. He said, but 2, 3, 4 of them will be attacked by insects. And he said, you can spend a lot of time, effort, and energy working with them, but if you throw them away and buy 3 new ones, you may not have any bugs at all. But there's a genetic predisposition in those plants. And I started watching that with friends and relatives and people I meet, that some people seem prone to catch every cold or flu that comes by, and other people, aren't even really taking care of themselves and they just don't get sick. So I do believe that there's a lot in your genetic predisposition by the parasites and germs and stuff that your parents gave to you or didn't give to you. So I believe that there's a combination of the two, that some of us have them in us, but they just don't get the opportunity to go anywhere because we eat right, we drink right, we think properly, and we keep them at bay, And then others of us, we're just overrun with them because of we get them from our animals or from our guardians or somebody else's. We're small children. And then whenever stress comes around, injuries come around, that's the opportunistic time for them, because everything in nature is advantageous and it waits for its right time to strike and attack.
Yeah, right on. Well, it's interesting being on this journey with you of meeting these bugs and these parasites. And Gary and I were talking earlier today before the call about the difference between old injuries and new injuries. Because one of the things that we've noticed is that, particularly my body, which didn't heal really well for like 20 years, is I now have some pretty good short-term resilience. So I'm up to 5 times. I'm going to play racket sports 5 times this week, which is just unbelievably shocking and exciting. And my body's recovering, so I can play back-to-back days now. And this last year, after 20 years with no racket sports, I got up to 2 times a week, and now 5. So it's just been a great escalation. So I seem to be having short-term recovery, but now we're going to put our energy and attention on the longer-term recovery. Like what I was saying to him is, like, when I was a teenager, I tackled a lot of people with this shoulder, and I always favored my right shoulder over my left. So my left shoulder feels good these days, and my right shoulder's like a little wonky. And so we're going to start looking at how do we activate the healing mechanism inside of those things that have been around for longer. Holly's got her hand up, so let me jump over there. And for those of you who are not using the chat function of Zoom, might I suggest that you go ahead and open it up, because I'm sending little messages to people to kind of orchestrate the conversation, and it'd be helpful if you were reading what I was sending you. All right, super cool. Holly.
Hi, everyone. Apologize, I don't have a picture on my system here. It's nice to be with you here today. Gary, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I love trees and I'm very connected with them. And I live in Canada and we're having problems with our cedar trees because all tree species like the cedar trees, there's a weave of cedar trees. And everywhere where I live in the city, they're all dying. And I don't know, heard somewhere that some of the tree species are choosing to leave at this time. But I mean, I've got this beautiful, had a beautiful cedar. I love my tree. Structured water, nurtured the soil with compost and compost tea and shungite. It's protected from the electromagnetics of the smart meters, things like that. But it's barely holding on with only a couple of branches with, vibrant greenery. So I'm just wondering if you have any insight into this and what I could do further to help, because they're just dying all around the city.
Well, there's two things that can be occurring. One is the pH of the soil. You know, if the pH has changed, if something has happened drastically, the chemtrails are putting boron or something in and the plant is getting poisoned. But I got a report 2 years ago from Germany. It was a 9-year research paper. And 3G and 4G, so many miles from the cell phone tower, were affecting some of the trees, but not all of them. So only certain varieties of trees lost half of the foliage on the side of the tree facing the cell phone tower in a 3-year period. At the end of an additional 4 years or 7 years all total, these varieties of trees died where the other trees didn't. And when they cut them down and autopsied them, they said that they got radiation poisoning from the 3G and 4G. So besides environmental stress of too much water, not enough water, toxins, runoff and stuff like that, we now have to see that even plants are affected by 3G and 4G. So, depending on what's in your area, I've had where I live here, the palm trees, certain varieties of palms are just dying and nobody can figure anything out. And I find isolated pockets where the plants are doing very well. There's a whole lot of other trees around protecting them. So I don't know if that helps you at all either, but having those type of things is also something that could affect everything. But I would check the soil pH and have you had a lot of rain, not enough rain? What's occurring there so that, we can see if there's any environmental stress there.
Yeah, and I keep a close eye on all of that because I know the tree was needing a lot of water last year just because we had a very dry year. But I mean, it was just, it went from this beautiful, vibrant tree all over the city. The cedars are doing very well to just massive die off. And, when the smart meters were activated in 2017 here, that was very detrimental. But I mean, like I make my own devices. So, I mean, it's very, to transmit that signal into, it's life giving instead of, life draining. I can look at pH, but I mean, if it was just my tree, that would be one thing, but it's like all over the city. So, but yeah, I can look at the pH.
So if all the trees in the whole city are going, then it's some kind of environmental stress.
Yeah, and I realize that.
It's drought for 5 or 10 years, too much water for 5 or 10 years, or some kind of poisoning. It's some kind of environmental stress. And environmental stress can make everything weak. And then if a weak little germ comes by, it can have everybody get wiped out very easily as well.
Yeah, but I didn't think about the chemtrails, so that could definitely be a factor. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, because the chemicals can bioaccumulate in the soil,
Yes.
slowly poison it. Just like people don't realize that iron, steel, like the shovel you use for digging, the earth doesn't like, and plants don't like. Victor Schauberger took a shovel and got it bronze like it would a baby booty. He took 2 exact same shovels, one was bronze and one wasn't. And he did research and he had his students dig with each shovel in the same dirt, inches away from each other. And a bronze shovel pierced the dirt very easily. And the steel one didn't want to go in. The earth doesn't want iron. It's not comfortable with it. So, we have a lot of things we don't know and understand. And there, a lot of things have been done over the years and we didn't know why they were done and we did away with them. And now we're coming back to find out that the old knowledge, the old technology was superior to what we have now. We just didn't know the methodology behind why all the doorknobs were brass. Because the ions in brass kill germs and people can come to you and they're not going to get you sick. All the old money was gold, copper, and silver. The ions kill viruses and bacteria in a millionth of a second. But because those commodities are so expensive, now we have money that doesn't have any gold, copper, or silver in it, or very little, and now it's full of germs. So, the environmental stress, the things that we're changing and doing, the chemtrails, all are bioaccumulative to the health of the tree.
Great, okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead and email me and let me know what's going on there, because if you can give me your exact area, I am internationally certified. I can get in touch with arborists in the area to see what they're doing.
For those, Jen, go ahead and post Gary's email in the chat box. For those who don't know, Gary is available for consultations. He's never really had a business model around helping people. It's always been trees. But if anything that he says sparks that you want to work with him on your health or the health of some trees or anything else, you're welcome to get in touch with him and make arrangements with him to help you out. The thing I would tell you about getting Gary on your side is that, once he's thinking about whatever it is you're dealing with, you just know that he's going to keep thinking about it until he figures it out. So, I get phone calls all the time by an inspired and excited Gary who has a new aspect of whatever we've been talking about most recently. He just kind of is that way. Like, he wears us on his heart. And once we're on his heart, he just keeps helping. So if you end up hiring him for anything, make sure you pay him fairly, because he doesn't have a business model around charging people for the exchange of energy. He just likes to talk. He likes to study. He likes to be in the world. And so if he helps you, help him, and just ask him how you can help him, pay him, or give him something, or connect him to something, make his life better, because he's out here doing that for us. I want to jump over to Jai for a second. Jai, go ahead and unmute yourself. You shared with me in an email about how you're working with fermentation and the biome, and it's great that you've joined us on this call. And I wonder if you just take a second, tell people what you're doing and what your experience is of this infinite intelligence and how you've kind of come up against it in your life path.
Yeah, well, hi, Patrick, and hi, everyone. And thanks for asking me to share. This is my first visit to your community, so it's received so well from myself. I'm on the East Coast of Australia, and it's like 6:45 Wednesday. And I had seminars last night. I had back-to-back seminars, so I'm a little bit tired. Anyway, to share briefly, so I'm here today. That this moment in time is where, from my research as a savant scientist through the years and my journey with water has led me to you guys and to structured water and the fourth phase of water, which I know about from an intrinsic upgrowing, should I say, being immersed in nature so heavily that I kind of sort of struggle to put words to it. So right now I'm fermenting. So I'm a beekeeper by trade, amongst other science-based, natural-based sort of ecology, microorganisms. I work largely with our long-range pollinators, with flying foxes. So I've worked with our long-range and short-range pollinators, our bees and our bats, for about 30 years. And I've done a bit of symbiotic research into how we receive the alignment of what nature has in front of us from a molecular level, from pollen samples to nectar samples to how bees process this in their glands, and how since ancient times, dating back over 3,000 to 5,000 years, our human animal DNA code has been to go to this product of honey and life force essentials. So I'm sort of hitting a few subjects here. It's hard to condense it all, but right now there's something going on in my learning and research and my alignment which I'm so enthusiastic to do some research with the 4-phase of water and to see how this coating reacts with the living bacteria that I create with my honey. So I've met with medical grade honey, the world's most prestigious green tea, and now structured water. And so I'll wrap it up here. This is where I am, and thanks for inviting me. I've kind of got a bit of goosebumps and a warm feeling going on. So thank
That's
you.
great. Well, I didn't know you were in Australia. You guys, I just sent the first box yesterday, right from Lubbock, Texas to Australia. We are going to be announcing very soon that we're going to be stocking our products in Australia. And so the Australians are going through a lot right now. And one of the things that has fallen apart is the United States Postal Service getting things there.
Yeah.
And so we've decided to get things there ahead of time so that our Australian brothers and sisters can place an order and the product can be reshipped locally. No customs, no waiting, no anything, just a local package. So we're really excited about that. And we have a local rep in Australia now. So when you call the Wellness Enterprise phone number in Australia, you actually get somebody with a lovely accent like Jai. And her name is Jules, and Jules will be there. And one of the things that's great about Jules is that she is married to a guy who is in construction. And so all the plumbing stuff and the connections, that's all second nature for their family. So she's a strong and passionate advocate for structured water, and he's really good with mechanical and structural. So very excited to have products locally in Australia now and to see our community connecting around the world. So where do we want to go from here? Gary, I have another topic I can bring up, but are you sitting with anything right now that's on your heart that you want to be sharing?
I have some obscure information with bees I can share with you.
Okay.
There was a lot of research being done with bees, and it would put a little tag on them so they could track them. And they noticed that no matter how far a bee went, against the wind, with the wind, full of nectar, no nectar, full of pollen, no pollen, the time it took to go to the field and come back never varied. So if the bee flew with the wind to the field and got pollen and nectar and came back against the wind with a full load, the time was the same. And they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. And they started researching. The speed of the bee's wings actually makes like a sound bubble around them. And they like levitate and go from place to place. So they're not affected by external sources.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was one of the things I learned in entomology. It was crazy. A lot of people have no concept of it and don't want to believe it.
Yeah. You know, I went to a channeling session last night, and you know, one of the things that was said is that we humans have so little idea about what's going on here on Earth, and that you know, if we can just mind our own business and focus on our own vibration and lift ourselves up, that that's the contribution that we can make. And when I hear you say that about bees, and I, you know, sit in the context of this conversation about being around infinite intelligence more, it's really making me slow down. You know, one of the members of our community who I've talked to lots and lots and lots for like 10 years, she observed this week that when I talk to her, I talk from my heart. But when I talk about other things like at the Wellness Enterprise, I don't. And her observation like couldn't have been better timed. And what I realized was, because I have like this track record of success on the earth plane, and these habits, I've developed this way of thinking that has me have an agenda with a lot of things. And I'm like trying to move something into alignment with the way I think it should be. And based on her observation, I had a really uncomfortable conversation to have. And I'm really good at those. Like when something uncomfortable needs to be done, like I do it. And I just go and I show up. And this time, instead of showing up from trying to move the conversation to where I wanted it to go, I just showed up from my heart the way I show up with talking with this friend. So I basically just initiated the conversation and just kept talking to the person, asking them questions, not from a linear, I know where this is leading, but just like the next question came, I guess, into my heart. Like it felt soft and welcoming. And I just asked the next question. And at the end of an hour and a half of that hard conversation, I didn't move from where I wanted to go to where I want to go, or I didn't anything other than I just spent an hour and a half with this person who I was in like a hard place with. And so all of that to say, I think that there's something valuable in surrendering to all the things that we do to make sense of what's going on in this world. Maybe we don't figure it out. Maybe that's just us grasping for control or grasping for understanding or certainty, which we certainly thrive on, right? Human beings thrive on certainty. And if we could just, take comfort in connecting here together, take comfort in the people from around the world who are in awe of life and letting life be as it is, take comfort in hearing stories that Gary's collected about bees and their wings and the thing that gets created around them. Take comfort in that we are the presence that watches what happens. I think there's something there. And Gary, a question that I've been holding, because it's a little bit of a different tangent, is somebody's interested in what are the best ways to maintain healthy thinking as a part of well-being? Like, do you have any tools or techniques or strategies that you use to break patterns of anxiousness or fear-based thinking? You have anything you want to throw into that pot?
Well, the thing that worked the best for me was just the meditation or the sun gazing, to just break away from the world and put your mind and body in a place where it can receive information that otherwise would be blocked.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, getting to that meditative state, guys.
Those are things where, the energy breathing, where all you're doing is concentrating on breath in and breath out, and you lock out the world, or the sun gazing, where you're just looking at the sun and you're just receiving the knowledge, the infinite wisdom from true source. And I think those are the things that work the best for me.
Yep, that's great. Trina wrote in the chat that the heart is a secret chamber where the threefold flame is. I think I'm going to get a little help here on the chat. God dwells there, so it needs our attention to develop the flames and balancing the flames of God power, which is blue, God wisdom, which is yellow, and God love, which is pink. At the base is a ball of white light that can spin when the threefold flame is balanced. So sometimes when I hear things that are that certain, like not quite sure where I stand up with them, but sometimes that certainty is like what it takes to help me move forward with it. The thing I can share with you guys is that when I wake up in the morning this past week, most days I have put my hand on my heart and breathed. And my intention has just been to expand my heart energy and to know myself as my heart energy and not so much my thinking energy. And I would say that's one of the aspects that has me feeling well. So I've gotten another number of comments that I look healthy again, that like my eyes look vibrant, and I look really good right now. And I think that the grinding of the last couple of weeks, as hard as it's been on me, I've known there's a breakthrough coming. And these feelings of non-attachment that I'm having, and like this peacefulness, it's just so unusual for me to be peaceful. I'm so thankful. Shira, is your sound working? No. Someday, when God gives me all the money in the world, I'm going to buy Shira a new computer. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. That's great. So we have a bigger crowd than usual today. I would imagine part of that has to do with the announcement of a sale. So for those who missed it, this is the device that we're putting on sale. It's 50% off through the month of March, and it can be adapted to pretty much any use: garden, sink, shower, RV, etc. And Jen put a link in the chat. Jen, you can go ahead and post it again. Who else has a question for Gary? It's a treat that we get to pull on Gary's intelligence. Gary, while somebody's warming up to raise their hand or unmute themselves, share with us your latest ways of taking on the spirochetes that are often connected to Lyme disease. Like, how have you been fighting them lately?
I've been doing a lot of rotation of the different products that I take. I shared with you, I don't know if I shared with everyone else, the full moon protocol, where they're more active during the full moon. So depending on if you want to do a extreme or a mild.
Yeah, hang on. Do you guys know about that? How many people know about the full moon effect on parasites and bugs? Bunch of people. Okay, cool. Yeah, they get active, right? When the full moon is there, they get active. And so Gary, when he says the full moon protocol, Gary's got this amazing characteristic where if he can think of something that causes him to suffer in the short term, that's going to make his life better in the long term, he like runs into the short-term suffering. It's really funny. All right, so that's the full moon protocol. So while they've been more active during the full moon, what have you been doing? Rotational herbs?
Yeah, if during the month I've been hitting them up with star sarsaparilla, then I'll switch off and get wormwood or something else, and I'll use like a natural ivermectin, like the black seed oil and stuff like that. I'll switch over, so what I'll do is I'll give them something that to get used to for 2 or 3 weeks, and then when the full moon time comes, say, hey, here's something new for you. What are you going to do with this? And let them see how they're going to cope with that. And then the next time around, I'll use something different again, so that basically what we do as arborists with trees, you don't want to use insecticides. So you use like an insecticidal soap or an herb to counteract each thing, and to not let them get accustomed to anything. You want them constantly to be weary that something new is coming and not know what the heck you're going to do next.
Yeah, I love that. I've been trying not to give my body any more ivermectin. Like it's generally, as far as I can tell, common wisdom is that nobody's ever had an overdose of ivermectin, and there don't appear to be any significant side effects. This is not medical advice. If you want medical advice, go see your doctor. But I just personally am sharing my experience, and I've been trying to go away from that, which has been a big part of my cycle, has been jumping back to ivermectin fairly often in between all the herbs. And lately I'm trying without the ivermectin, just going with the herbs. And I've got a little bit of the spirochetes, Gary. I haven't told you, but like I've been spraying. What's been happening is, because I'm playing all the racket sports, I'm showering at the gym. And because I'm showering at the gym, I don't have my hydrogen peroxide there. And so I get my showers without my hydrogen peroxide, so I don't find out if I have spirochetes or not. And so the last couple of days, I've made it a point to shower at home so that I could spray the hydrogen peroxide. And there's a little bit of agitation. It's not common. So anyway, I'm trying to rotate through it. Shira says, I think quercetin. You definitely can't tell me how to say it, huh, Shira? So maybe somebody can read the chat. It's said to be a good substitute for ivermectin. Supplementary or organic blueberries. You know how to say it, Gary? Quercetin.
Yeah, I take it every day, quercetin.
Quercetin. Cool.
Okay, with the zinc, the D3 and the liposomal C. Those are
Yeah.
standard. And then you can rotate everything else in.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had my annual with my doctor, and D3K2 was a substantial recommendation, as was profoundly raising the amount of high quality cod liver. And so I got this bottle that's like 1 teaspoon. There's like 95 servings in the bottle. And after like 9 days, it's almost empty because I just pick up the bottle and drink out of it and just, I don't know, as much as goes in my mouth, that's how much I take. Somebody asked if we plan to put the whole house device on sale in the future. So a quick comment about that. The Aqua Energizers continue to sell as fast as we can make them. It's been that way for 1.5 years. And we've never put them on sale, and we don't have any plans to put them on sale. It's been an expensive business to launch, and all of the COVID crap and supply chain manipulations just up labor costs and up material costs. And so there's quite a bit of pressure on us, plus quite a bit of demand. So I don't have any plans. There's nothing coming in the near term future about Aqua Energizers being on sale in any way. It's just not where we're at right now. And you know what, the way we try to make up for that is by having the used and discount marketplace and allowing people to trade in their old natural action devices and then selling those at substantially discounted prices. So if budget is the issue, we're doing our best to give you a way to work around the budget. And you know, the natural action devices, you know, we were the top seller of those in the world for 9 years, and they're good devices. It's just that they're made from PVC and they don't have some of the testing that the Aqua Energizers do. Like, we like the Aqua Energizers better, but if budget is the issue and you want to get a reduction in price, then that's what I would get a natural action device for. So in terms of the copper Aqua Energizers, I don't want to confuse anybody. This Aqua Energizer is on sale for the next month. This is made from PVC by Natural Action. The ones made from copper that are blue on the outside, those are the ones I've just been talking about, that we're making them as fast as we can. And it's, we haven't been able to get ahead of demand yet. And, you know, we're having conversations about that right now and doing what we can to shift it. Okay. Shira says D3 without K2 and magnesium is not absorbed and gets deposited where it does not belong. So I think that whole absorption issue is an important one. Like, we all have a lot of abundant minerals available to us, especially people on this call. I mean, look how much knowledge there is in the call. And paying attention to absorption is probably as important as figuring out what to take. Gary, you got any comments about absorption in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, as they said. You need the K2 for the D3. You need magnesium to get calcium. There's a whole lot of little intricacies that people don't know about. You know, your doctor says you need more calcium for your bones. You can take all the calcium you can physically sit there and eat all day long and absorb none of it unless you have a balanced amount of magnesium. So there's a lot of things, unless you have a good doctor or something like that to let you know exactly what you need to do. You can be spinning your wheels all day and go nowhere.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think that when we take our place in infinite intelligence, when we do more sun gazing, or we consume more herbs, or we take more ion and have more cell to cell communication in our bodies, or we take the nanosoma, or we have the structured water as the baseline for our system. I think all of that raises the vibration of a being such that we start to have a innate intelligence. I went shopping last evening, and I picked up a loaf of bread and put it, I walked toward my cart with it. And because I'm doing the emotion code and the gratitude practice every day, I've been saying this part about my cells guide me to the things that I want. And I've been saying this part about aligning with my heart. And so as I walked toward my shopping cart with the bread, I felt my heart energy go down. And I was like, okay. And I turned around and I went and I put it back on the shelf. And likewise, when I was going by the organic raspberries, even though like I can afford food and whatnot, spending $8 on organic raspberries is like, not something I'll instantly do, but I could feel my heart energy rise. And it's like, I walked out of that store with organic raspberries and without bread. And I was really happy about that. So I think our guidance system can be cultivated to let us know whether it's eating the blueberries that Shira typed about in the chat, or the raspberries I'm mentioning now, or the goji berries that are in Gary's backyard, or what have you. I think we can increase our intelligence for that. Okay, so questions for Gary? All right, quiet group. One more question for you guys. How many people know about taping your mouth shut at night so that you breathe through your nose? Okay. So, as I'm focusing on infinite intelligence, I've been learning that if my mouth is open, my physiology thinks I'm running from a tiger, right? So I'm in fight or flight when I'm breathing through my mouth. If you think about it, like when we were, hunting and gathering and, hunting with spears and, things like that, like if you're running really fast, that's when you open your mouth, and that's in our wiring. And so I didn't understand. I had a coach last year who was coaching me to keep my tongue at the roof of my mouth and breathe through my nose. And I didn't understand. And then it was actually Niedra, who was on our previous call, who taught me that, having my mouth open meant that my physiology thinks I'm running from a tiger. So when she said that, I got some tape and I started taping my mouth shut at night. The stress I've been under the last couple of weeks, I haven't been putting the tape on because I know it won't be there an hour after I go to sleep. But as I'm more peaceful, I'm going to redo it again. And what I'm thinking about doing is stocking some of this, seeing if I can find a company to give us some samples at really low prices, and then stocking it in our warehouse and giving it away when people make certain size orders with the Wellness Enterprise, because it's another way to help you realign your body with where we're supposed to be in nature. We breathe through our noses, except when we're eating or talking. And this tape helps that happen. And I just can't see getting in the business of selling tape, but I also can't see passing this knowledge and not telling you guys about it when it's such an easy thing. Somebody said, what kind of tape? I'm underprepared for that question. So Jai's got a question. I'll go do a quick Google search while he's doing that. So go ahead and unmute yourself and grab the mic so I can answer the other question. Go ahead, Jai.
Thanks, mate. Not so much a question. I have a lot of questions, but for Gary, I would really like to create a possibility where we can connect and share a bit more about etymology. And I'd like to maybe get some information about the guys that have done the tracking. Where I'm at the moment is doing symbiotic research between our day and night pollinators. What I've found is they're taking the same floral patterns and, you know, taking the same flights and eating the same species. And so I'm looking to do that where I can set up collecting some pollen samples and looking at the neural pathways of our flowering plants in given seasons.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll keep it short on that. But yeah, I'll send you an email anyway.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
Jai, you saw that Gary's email's in the chat. And guys, I just did a quick search. This is consciousbreathing.com. I haven't studied it extensively, but I probably put a half hour into it. And my brief take is that the guy running that business looks to me like his passion for you sleeping with your mouth closed is like my passion for you having structured water. He looks like a pretty passionate and inspired guy who's found his niche and is living his purpose. So I'm not necessarily endorsing a particular type of tape, but that's the brand that I have. And I plan on learning a little bit more about it and maybe even reaching out to him and having him come teach us. That could be pretty cool. Anyway, just a cool thing that I picked up. All right, anybody else with a question for Gary or question for anybody or something that they want to say? All right, next week is going to be a fun one. We're going to have Orna and Matthew Walters, who are my love coaches, as I call them. I went to them a year ago. I've known them for 10 years. And a year ago, I called them up and I said, you guys are not going to believe why I'm calling. And they're like, why? What's up? And I was like, well, I'm calling to become a client. Like, no way, you're finally ready to be in a relationship? And I was like, it's not even that I am ready to be in a relationship. It's just that I'm ready to stop living with a broken heart. Like, I've been so hurt by my experiences in romantic love in this lifetime, my marriage and girlfriends and whatnot. I just don't want to hurt anymore. So if you guys could just like help me heal and put my bags down, like that would be worth the price of admission. And so not only have they helped me heal and put my bags down, but while I've been working with them, I went in a relationship with Caroline, which was fantastic. And then when that ended, I've been ready and willing and excited to date, which I've never been excited to date in my entire life. I've been terrified and petrified and all that. So next week, we're going to have Orna and Matthew, and they are going to teach us a whole bunch of stuff. And we're going to share with you what it means to create love on purpose. So come on back next week. Thank you all for your participation and for being our community today. Gary, special thanks to you for just being who you are, to share your knowledge and expertise with people. You're really amazing, man. And I consider myself lucky to be your friend.
No problem, man. Anytime.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.